Yes. Yeah, there's somebody in the car.
All right, all right, all right. Go ahead and get things started. Hope everybody's doing well today. I'm gonna give you a few minutes to get on up in here. Still working on the screen sharing and whatnot for the intro, but I'm not even gonna worry about that. Today is gonna be something a little different. I'm gonna be reading an address that I put together. This is a special address for the NFL draft class for this year and for the many years to come. This also is going to be an address for any of our youngsters that are aspiring to get into the league in professional sports, whether it's the National Football League, whether it's the NBA, Major League Baseball, any kind of professional sports organization where there's a lot of money involved, prestige and fame. With the draft and in talking to coaches and who have sent players to me to discuss their addictions and whether it's alcohol, drugs, toxic relationships, individuals, emotions, and all of those things, it just kind of led me to say, okay, you know what? If I had an opportunity to speak to this class, this draft class, what would I say to them? And so I've actually pre-prepared something that I'm going to speak on. It'll be probably fairly short, but it'll be some words I would just like to give to this class. So if you will, definitely feel free to share. I'll be starting in a couple of minutes here. I'm going to go ahead and let's see, I'm working on setting up my little screen here because I prepared this message. And so I want to make sure I say everything that needs to be said here. All right. So if you see me looking off the screen, it's because I'm trying to make sure I remember everything that I had to say. All right. I think I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right. So this is, give me one sec here. I'm going to open up my message here that I have. All right. All right. So this is my message to, hold on. Just going to turn this off. It's distracting. Oop. All righty. This is my message to the National Football League class draft. The current gentlemen that have just recently become a part of the league. All right. All right. All righty. Here we go. Gentlemen, first I'd like to congratulate you on making it into the National Football League. Since its inception, countless players, countless kids have lived their lives aspiring to achieve what you have now accomplished. For many of you, this accomplishment represents the beginning of a life-changing experience for yourself, your family, and your family's legacy for years to come. Many of you have come from areas and backgrounds that have never seen the amount of money, prestige, and fame that you are on track to achieve. Although in college you have had some taste of popularity, notoriety, maybe a little bit of privilege, it is nothing like what you are about to experience as a member of the National Football League. And as it pales into comparison to what you had in the past, pales in comparison to what the NFL, your place in the NFL affords you. Still, as a retired alcoholic, a recovery coach, and as somebody who understands what addiction and alcoholism can do to any man, regardless of wealth, station, class, or occupation, I felt it prudent to offer some food for thought as you begin this glorious endeavor. Over the years in the Football League, we are all familiar with the successes that many players have achieved, whether it's financial, social, popularity. All of these things have been made evident to the players and the public alike, thanks to the media. But still, there are many known and lesser known subjects to failure, subjects to pitfalls that have beset the paths of many players in the National Football League. Many of them have often ended up worse off than they were before they ever entered the league. Now, there are a few things that entry into the league gives you: access to fame, access to fortune, and an access to the temptations that can ruin you. That's access to fame, fortune, and the temptation that can ruin you. Now, these temptations, when you take on the fact that, yes, they are afforded to everybody, whether it's alcohol, drugs, sex, right? But in the NFL, these temptations are expanded to a humongous degree, a degree that most of us will never see. Now, I don't mean to be a pessimist. Still, I do think that in the sea of celebration that you may be in now, it is incumbent upon you to encounter voices of clarity that give you perspective that can help you maintain and sustain your success and the blessings that you've been afforded. A current example of that comes to mind is our brother, ex-former Raiders wide receiver Henry Ruggs III. Ruggs was a 2020 first-round draft pick wide receiver that got picked up by the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, he signed a fully guaranteed 4-year contract worth approximately $17 million with a team option for a 5th year. Of that 4-year contract, Ruggs played less than 2 full seasons. He played his entire rookie season, the 2021 season. And then in 2021, he played for a couple of months until November 2nd, when a decision that he made cost him his career, is now eating away at his fortune, and will potentially cost him his freedom. According to the Las Vegas police, Henry Ruggs III is accused of driving as fast as 156 miles per hour in a residential area while intoxicated before crashing into a car occupied by Tina Tintor and her dog. Tina and her pet burned to death in the fiery crash that resulted. And this was, now a miracle notwithstanding, Ruggs' career in the NFL is over. And he faces a possibility of 46 years in prison if convicted of the 5 charges he's currently charged with. Now, you may be thinking, of course this is an unfortunate situation, but you may be thinking, well, Henry Ruggs, he's received $17 million guaranteed, and you may be thinking that he received all of this money, but the fact of the matter is, if that is what you think, you are definitely mistaken. The fact of the matter is, the Raiders are looking to void his contract. Rightfully so and understandably so, right? Because according to them, he violated the morality clause, which is in all contracts, which basically they call it a bad boy clause, which means if you violate some of the, moral laws, they can basically take back that guaranteed money. And more than likely this is going to happen. And when or if this does happen, he essentially will lose 72% of that 17 million, which will leave him at about 4 million. And that's 4 million that he has at this moment. Now I have to remind you that with this 4 million, he's fighting a case, right? Due to this accident. There was a passenger in the car with him, which of course she's going to have a lawyer that's going to be seeking restitution for, her injuries and what has gone on with her. And that's going to come out of his pocket. Then you have the Tinter family. May her soul rest in peace, and may, condolences be given out to her family as well. So that $4 million, you've got the lawyers he's paying for. He's not going back to the league, so there's no more money coming in, right? And that $4 million, even though to us regular folk it may seem like a lot, that $4 million is getting ate away with every given day. Okay. And with this, I want to remind you there in the class, because he is not a special case. There are many other players, all right, more than the players that have won the Super Bowl or gone on to great success. There are many players who fall as a result of substance abuse, as a result of alcoholism, drug abuse, right? And there's a lot of, and this is one of the words that I want you to think about as you're pursuing your career: irreversible. Many mistakes can be cleaned up. You can make amends for certain things, but some things are irreversible. Miss Tina Tinter is not coming back. Her family has lost somebody as a result, right? Arguably as a result of alcoholism and reckless driving. One night. Because it's not even to say that Mr. Ruggs is an alcoholic. That may be for all we know, that could be the only night that he's ever drank in his life. It still doesn't stop the fact that there were irreversible, irreparable consequences for his actions. And from what I've been told in my research, the NFL actually offers a car service, let alone Uber. So there are a lot of services out there that that gave options to Mr. Ruggs that he could have taken, right? But when there's a lot of lapses in judgment that can be made. Just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean that you were in the right state of mind even before you came into that money. And as they say, having a lot of money, all it does is accentuate the person that you are. So if I'm an alcoholic before I get money, get $1 million, when I get that $1 million, it's just going to afford me the ability to be a bigger alcoholic. My temptations, those temptations that can ruin me, now become greater because I have greater access to them. And that's one of the things that when we look at, your position in the NFL now, yes, you have greater access to a lot of positive things, more money. You can do a greater ability to do more for your community, which is a fantastic thing. And God bless you if you choose to do that with your riches. But those same riches also afford you temptations, greater temptations that can bring greater ruin to your life. There are many people that can't even afford a car that can drive 156 miles per hour, right? And so these are some of the things that we often don't think about. And in your celebration and with your entourage and the people around you, they may not think about. But it only takes one night and one mistake to change all of that. And the reason why I wanted to address this draft class is because you're in a special place. You're in a place where you may have a couple of dollars now, but you haven't gotten the bulk of what's to come. So there's still an opportunity, a lot more realistic opportunity to sit and think about what you're going to do, whether it's with your money, with your time. And there are a few things I'm gonna put before you to give you to think about now before you get in the midst of really being, indulging in the life that you deserve, that you have earned and worked hard for. A life that many people in your family are depending on, whether you have children, whether you have a spouse, whether you have family members that, are in need that you want to help, right? All of these people are now going to be depending on you. And so there are things that you're going to want to think about. And I wanted to take my opportunity and my platform to give you that opportunity to give you these things to think about. All right. So first, some of the irreversible consequences that you open yourself up to if you misuse the blessings that this, your career in the NFL are going to give you. Injury, greater injury, death, right? Like we're seeing here in the Ruggs case, jail time. There are plenty of cases of NFL players that are now locked up, some for life, some for in and out, right? Permanent loss of career, all right, where you do something to where you are not going to be able to come back to the NFL. And if you've been working as hard, if you've been working to become an NFL player, football may be all you know because you've had your eye on the prize. So you haven't, planned for an alternative plan B. You have no plan B. Plan A, you were all in. And that may be a big part of the reason why you made it. But if you lose it, there's going to be a void there. You still got to eat. Kids still got to eat. Family members still, your responsibilities still have to be taken care of. And so when you're taking these gambles, because remember, every drink is a gamble. That I want you to remember. Every drink is a gamble. That's the reason why in Vegas, gamblers drink for free. Anybody who's been to Vegas that gambles will let you know. You go into a casino, as long as you're gambling, when you ask for a drink, they're going to bring you whatever you want, and they're not going to take any money. They're not going to ask for any money as long as you're gambling. Why? Because the more you drink, the more your inhibitions lower, and the more risk you take. The issue is, as an NFL player, as a $2 person, I may be taking a $2 risk. As an NFL player, you're taking $1 million risk, a multi-million-dollar risk. You're not risking your own income. You're risking the income of everybody that works with you and for you, right? And so you have greater reward and you also have greater risk. And alcohol does nothing but bring risk to you. Drugs, risk to you. The benefits, there is none. Ultimately, outside of the buzz, a temporary buzz. So this is something you need to think about. And your access to these temptations are greater, which means you're going to need greater discipline to be a steward of the blessing that you have as an NFL player. And you have a blessing that you've never had before. So you're still thinking as you were before you entered the draft. So that means there's certain things that you're going to need to develop to grow. You cannot be the same person you were when you got to the league, because you don't have the same amount of things that you have now that you're in the league. Responsibilities, obligations, they are magnified. And oftentimes we don't think about these things. And we don't think about them until the irreversible happens. All right? Other irreversible things. Unintended, because I don't say unwanted, unintended pregnancies. Right? You have more access to fans, let's just call it what it is. More access to groupies, more access to women or men, whatever you deal with. Okay? And with women, unintended pregnancies is definitely a real thing. I don't think I have to tell you about the many football players that got all kind of kids flying around. And there's a whole lot of them that got 10, 12 kids, and then they get kicked out the league for whatever reason. And them 10, 12 kids ain't going nowhere. They don't leave with the NFL contract. They still got to eat. Okay? So these are some of the things that you want to be mindful of. What you want to do in order to preemptively think about and be mindful of this is you want to take an inventory of your current circle. Take an inventory of your current circle by yourself. This is not a group exercise. You need to sit by yourself, write down everybody in your circle, friends, family, people you associate with on a daily basis. People who you've got relationships with that you plan on maintaining throughout your career. But you need to be honest about these individuals because you are changing. Your money isn't changing. Your responsibilities isn't changing. Your ability to stay around the same neighborhood is going to completely change now that you have been drafted. which means your relationship is either going to adapt or it's going to stay the same and ultimately probably, especially if it's not a positive one or a conducive one, fall to the wayside, or it could possibly ruin you. Which friends do you have that enable you? And be honest, because you know who they are. We all know who our friends are that are just yes men. No matter what we want to do, they support. And when what we want to do is good, go into the league, oh, they've got your back. But with that one night when you want to celebrate and pop bottles until you pass out, they're down to pass out with you. They're not telling you, hey, man, you're trying to go to the league. You can't drink like we're drinking, or you shouldn't be drinking at all. They're not telling you what you need to know. And you got to separate the friends that tell you what you need to know from the buddies that are just there for the good time. Because chances are they won't be there for a long time. And this is a realistic conversation that you've got to have by yourself, with yourself. Okay? Or with somebody, your mama, your daddy, a therapist, somebody who can help weed through it if you need somebody to bounce things off of. Okay? Because even your coaches, even the league, they have their own interests. And as long as you're playing and producing, if you've got trauma, unhealed trauma, they could care less. So don't think that your coach, or don't necessarily think that your coach is going to be all in and healing certain things for you. You deserve a therapist. Get you one. And I use the word deserve. Whether you think you need it or not, you deserve a therapist. Because heavy is the head that wears the crown. And you need someone to help you hold it up. Somebody that is 100% invested and they're paid to selfishly help heal you. Selfishly. Not your mama, not heal your daddy, not heal anybody else. You. You got the money to pay for it. Pay for it. Okay? Invest in yourself. Invest in the new you that you have become and you have to be as a member in the league. Another irreversible that doesn't get talked about a lot. Blackmail. Trust and believe, and it's not going to be just females you may encounter. It could be the league itself. It could be people that may not want you to go from one team to another. Well, if we get information on him, well, we can hold him. So the moves that you make, blackmailable offenses, are a lot easier to commit when you're drunk, when you're high. So be leery of anybody who seems to be very interested in offering you these things, or offering you anything that they know will take you off of your square, because many of us, vices may not be drugs. It may not be alcohol. It may be what we'll just call the in-between. That in-between is a monster. And the access that you will have, okay, as a member in the NFL, I don't have to tell you. But that can be used as a weapon against you. Because the people, everybody that approaches you, remember, they're approaching you with their interests. Does that mean you trust nobody? No, but that means you have a realistic, healthy discernment, as Martin Luther King used to say. A healthy discernment for everyone around you. For everyone around you. You deserve to have that healthy discernment. Okay? And understand that. Who has allowed you to lose control in the past? When you were young, dumb, and running around, okay, you could lose control, bounce back, no big deal. Now there's a lot more on the line. So it may be your best friend. And that means you may have to change your interaction with them. You may not get rid of them. Hey, they're your boy, hey, your family, whatever, understand that. But you got to be realistic about how you interact with them. And get them used to the new NFL player you. Who's tried to stop you when you've made a bad decision? Think about the last time you were going to make a decision that in hindsight now you realize was a bad one. And think about who was the last person to tell you, don't do that. Whether you argued and you did it anyway and then fell and found out that they were right, or you listened to them and then found out they were right. Think rack your brain and sit down and think, who was the last person that tried to redirect me when I did not want to be redirected? Those are people you need to think about. And if you don't have any, you better get you some. Think about who can profit from your pain. Who can profit from your pain? There is an industry of people that can profit from your pain. And now that you're making more money, more prestige, more fame, they can profit even greater from your pain. Your pain is worth a lot more now. You get arrested, you're worth a lot more now to your lawyer, to the prosecution, who, remember, they both work for the same state, the same court. If you think about Mr. Ruggs, they know he's worth $4 million. So in one room, imagine this: his lawyer, the state, the passenger's lawyer, Miss Tenter's lawyer, all sitting down going, well, we've got this pot of $4 million from a guy that's just trying to stay free. How much do you want? How much do I? And basically they sit around going, hey, well, I want this much. If I get this much, if the state may say, well, if you give me this much, we're going to give him this many years. If you give us more, we know we got $4 million to play with, y'all. We got $4 million. Here you are thinking, hey, this person's here for me. And what they're really doing is sitting down going, look, we already know how much. We went to spottrack.com. We already know how much he's worth. We know what he got. That's the reason why lawyers ask you to declare your income no matter what, no matter who you are. You secure a lawyer. The first thing they're going to ask you is, all right, we need a retainer. And then, here's the income statement. They want to know how much money you got. So they know how much to, okay, so we got this much to play with. And as an NFL player, trust and believe, that's how it's going down. You need to think about that, because ain't nobody telling you this, but that's what I'm here for. All right. And remember too, what are your weaknesses? You need to sit down. You're in the draft. You got plenty of people telling you about your strengths. You just got paid for your strengths, the ultimate prize, right? This is the time when you sit down and go, where am I deficient? Am I a sucker for drugs? Am I a sucker for alcohol? Am I a sucker for the in-between? Is there a certain type of woman I like? Is there a certain situation I like? Is there a food I like? Is there a emotion that I'm addicted to? Am I a hothead? Because being a hothead may serve you on the football field, but it might not serve you if you're drinking and you're at a club, somebody step on your little Nikes, the one out of the bazillion pair that you can afford to get. And because you don't have proper coping, or you've never had to have proper coping mechanisms, you can be like, I forget the player's name who's on tape beating somebody down. Or we can even look at the Tupac situation. Beating somebody up in the club, dead within the next 4 hours. Because he don't know who he playing with. Okay? And all the money in the world. You can die a millionaire. Millionaires die every day, B. Multimillionaires die every day, B. Many are killed. Many commit suicide. Okay? And if your head is not in the right place, if you haven't had therapy up until this point, because you figure, hey, I'm a good football player, what do I need any of this other stuff for? All you got to do is go on YouTube, type in alcoholism, NFL, DUI, NFL player, and then you need to start getting real and adding a little balance to the yes men, the yes women, the family members all pumping you up, the coach telling you that you've got a bright career. Don't forget about the other people in the back shaking their hands like Birdman. Don't forget about the police going, well, shoot, as long as he doesn't commit any crimes, we don't get a piece of his pie. We're not going to see any part of that contract. Man, I can't wait till, well, maybe he's a drinker. Maybe he's a hothead. Well, we did some research on him because guess what? You may not have a therapist that is selfishly, checking you out and letting you know about the areas, your psychological profile where you may need to work. But your enemies are. Your enemies, and by enemies, I mean people that are going to profit from your pain. People that plan to profit from your pain, from women who are looking to see who you've been with in the past to find out what is your type. Men who want to find out what is your type so they know what kind of women to feed you. Okay? If you haven't read the book, $40 Million Slaves, you need to read it. $40 Million Slaves. You need to read it. Get the Cliff Notes if you're, that's old school Cliff Notes. At this point, AI will spit out a summary. Go to ChatGPT, summarize $40 Million Slaves. And you need to read it. I've gifted it to more than a few athletes. And I pray that they at least cracked it open. Okay? Because no, I'm not an ex-NFL player. No, I don't claim to know everything. But I live on Earth, land of predators. I'm in America, capitalism, okay? And I can sit here and think, well, shoot, if I wanted to target an NFL player, what would I do? Oh, I'd feed him this, I'd feed him this, I'd tell him this, I'd make sure I keep him away from this. I'd make sure he didn't know how to read and just tell him just play until he gets in the league. And then when it's time to sign his contract, I'd make sure it's about 150,000 pages. And then next to it, put a big ass pile of money. Because he ain't going to read this, but he sure the hell knows what this can do. Okay? I'm pretty sure if I walked up to Mr. Ruggs and said, what is a morality clause? He probably has no clue. Just like if I walk up to the average rapper and say, what is a death clause? He has no clue. He has no clue. These rappers, most of them have no clue that every single record company takes an insurance out on their rappers that you and your family as the artist get to see none of. And that death clause is put in every record deal that 90% of them don't read. Okay? So these are some of the things you want to think about. And it's the reason why I'm doing this. I just want to lay it down. Whether you pick it up, hey, you do what you want with it. I ain't in the NFL. I'm just a recovery coach. The only thing I can do, is say, hey, if you want to book some time to talk to me, I'm here. I ain't got no problem telling you that. You want to buy my book, it's $15. I'm pretty sure out of a few millions of dollars, you can go ahead and go to Amazon, pay about $15, and check out a little insight from a retired alcoholic. Okay? Let's see, anything else? Let me see here. So, I guess I'll close. So, in closing, I want to say this. To the current NFL draft class, and all players with aspirations to one day enter the league, or any professional sport, I hope that these words plant seeds in you so that you can preemptively work on yourselves in order to avoid the pitfalls that have beset many players that have come before you. May your goals be achieved and the success and blessings that you prepare for serve you all the days of your life. Now I'm going to leave you with the sobriety prayer that I say to myself. It's actually on page 3 in my book. It's just a collection of verses, a short prayer that helps to keep me and can help keep you mindful of the blessings that you have, as well as what you must do in order to attain, and maintain them. And it goes like this. Be sober. Be vigilant. For your adversary, the devil, is a roaring lion who walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are afforded your brethren that are in the world. Blessed be the Lord my strength, which teacheth my hands to war and my fingers to fight. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Therefore, let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober. Peace.